Gentlemen, today we're showing you the 11 most effective ways to approach a girl. Everybody knows that guy. The guy who talks a big game about which girls he wants and which girls want him, except when it comes time to actually talk to girls, he shuts down. Well, guys, we don't want you to be that guy. We don't want you to be all talk and no action. And we don't want you to be wishing you would talk to that girl who you swear was into you. That's why we're going to show you how to set up the perfect approach and execute it to a T. And just to make sure nothing goes wrong at the last minute, we're also sharing the #1 thing you can do that will make any girl lose interest and bounce real quick. Now let's jump in. Number 11, don't approach at all. The heck? Swear you didn't just tell us in a video about how to approach girls to not approach. Well, it's true. If you really want to learn how to approach girls, the first thing you gotta do is pause and set the stage. This is a technique we call the anti-approach. In other words, hang back and warm up the room before jumping in. Now, you might be thinking, "Mantelligence, that just sounds like an excuse to not have to talk to girls." But you'd be wrong, because here's what's gonna happen. If you just go out trigger happy, ready to approach as many girls as you can, and indiscriminately rely on sheer volume to get by, all that's going to happen to you is that you end up with a high contact rate but low success. Sure, you'll have talked to a bunch of girls, but did any of those conversations go anywhere? What anti-approaching does is act like a kind of filter that gives you a chance to assess and lets you know who's worth your time. Number 10, own your expectations. Here's how most guys shoot themselves in the foot when preparing for the approach. Of course, they want to talk to girls, but they're not always feeling like it's the right time. Couple that with the fact that they're also feeling some peer pressure, and what do you get? A classic case of performance anxiety. If you're like most guys, you felt the terror of approach anxiety. But did you ever stop to think why you get approach anxiety in the first place? For a lot of guys, it's the fear of rejection. I mean, let's face it, rejection stings. So, what should you do? Don't let anyone else set expectations for you. By managing your own expectations, you neutralize the effects of rejection and allow yourself to think clearly about how to make your approach. Number 9, judge the cover. All right, now it's time to pull the trigger. First step, know what you're up against. When you're at the grocery store and it's time to pick out your produce, do you ever grab fruits and vegetables without checking the quality first? You check, don't you? You don't want your apples to have any bruises, unusual holes, or mold growing on them, right? Of course not. So why would you want a girl with those things? Sometimes the best way to approach a girl is to take a good look at her from a distance and make some judgments first. Ask yourself if she looks like the type of girl you want to get to know in the first place. Is she having a good time, or does she seem standoffish? Observe her, but don't be creepy about it, and you'll learn a lot without ever having to say a word. Number 8, the female co-pilot. Sure, going to bars alone is easy if you're the type of person who can strike up a conversation with anyone, but let's face it, we're not all social butterflies, which is why we've told you before how important it is to have a wingman. But think about it, how much better of a wingman would your friend be if he was a girl? Because who knows the most about girls? Other girls. Instead of bringing your male buddy with you to help you get girls, bring a female friend. Having a bro by your side is good, but having a girl to back you up is even better. Why? A wing girl is the ultimate social proof. A wing girl will either make you look unavailable and in demand, or more importantly, other girls will see that you're at least sorta normal, since there's evidence that at least one woman doesn't mind hanging out with you. Number 7, tread the friend zone. We'll admit it, this may be a risky maneuver for some guys out there, but no risk, no reward, right? Here's how you tread the friend zone without being fake, creepy, or too nice. All you've got to do is treat her, and everyone really, as a person whom you don't want anything from. Sounds easy until you realize that most guys really struggle with this when talking to girls. Basically, be friendly, but don't go all in on one friendly behavior. Smile, eye contact, light touching, engaged body language. You know the drill. She'll like that you're warm but not too intense, and will be way more likely to talk to you. Number 6, count down from 3. Everyone is afraid of something. Spiders, the dark, and approaching women are just a few examples. And one of the best methods of dealing with fear, especially when approaching women, is by counting 3, 2, 1 and approaching. Convince yourself there's no other option, because the truth is, there isn't. For guys who count down but don't act on it, this handy psychological trick actually has the opposite effect and reinforces bad behavior, which makes approaching even harder. Hey, if you like what you're hearing, keep watching, because we've got 5 more ways to keep approaching so much easier, and the #1 thing that could prevent you from talking to girls for a long time. All right, let's get back to it. Number 5, the goddess of victory. Have you ever heard of the Greek goddess Nike? She made her own clothing brand, or something like that. And the slogan for that brand is something along the lines of, "Don't think, do. In our last method, you had 3 seconds to second-guess yourself before approaching a girl. In this one, you have 0. Here's how it works. Step 1, walk into a room and see a pretty girl you'd like to meet. Step 2, turn your feet in her direction. Don't stop walking. Step 3, reach her and start a conversation. When you don't give yourself time to think about how things could go wrong, you figure out pretty quickly that you had nothing to worry about in the first place. Master this trick, you'll be making big league approaches every time you leave the house. Number 4, back to basics. Eye contact is the world's most ancient method of starting a conversation with a girl. It's what started it all. The reason you're here today is because your ancestors, at the very least, didn't make completely poor eye contact with the ladies. That's just like basic anthropology. So in case you forgot, here are the eye contact basics for the approach. When you make eye contact with her, look inquisitive, like you can't seem to figure her out. It'll make her wonder why you're looking at her that way. That's when you walk up to her and tell her she looks familiar, or something similar. But for that real next level, do this. When you make eye contact, guide her attention to something funny or unusual in the room. You'll share a mini moment together, and if she seems receptive, i.e. she's laughing, it's usually a sign you can approach immediately, or wait a few minutes if you want. It'll keep her on her toes. Looking for some other ways to capture her interest? Check out this video we did right here. Number 3, don't be lame. What is one of the most important things you look for in a girl? Sure, attractiveness is a given, but just because a girl is pretty, does that mean she's enjoyable to be around? Not necessarily. And the same rule applies to guys. It doesn't matter how handsome you are. If you're not fun to be around, who's gonna want to spend time with you? So one of our favorite methods of approaching girls is to be the life of the party and spread those fun guy vibes everywhere you go. Number 2, the question master. Where are you from? What do you do? How many kids do you want? Heads up, that's not a conversation. That's an interview. A conversation is a give and take. You ask a question, she shares an answer. Then you share your own experiences in relation to the question. But it doesn't have to stop there. When approaching a girl, try a word game like would you rather. Here's an example. Would you rather be chased by the mafia or by the FBI? Tough choice, huh? That's why it's fun. Don't forget truth or dare either. That's always a good one. And that's the thing. Games like these help you weed out the boring girls. And as an added bonus, meeting girls becomes less intimidating and more hilarious and full of surprises. Number 1, be a scientist. If there's one thing to keep in mind while trying these out, it's that not every method is going to work for every guy. So be a scientist and experiment. If you find a method of approaching girls that works for you, try it with other girls. And don't forget to keep it flirty and casual on occasion. Not every girl is meant to be your soulmate. Remember, meeting girls and learning how to talk to them is a skill just like anything else. And the more you practice, the more natural it feels, which translates directly into confidence. Not to mention, it hurts a little less when you get rejected, which can happen to you if you... Guys who walk up and talk to any girl all have one very important trait in common: confidence. But what you may not realize is that most guys faked that confidence until they actually became confident. This process can take years, but they were scientists and honed their approach until it became natural. And before it became natural, it was awkward. And that's exactly how you shouldn't approach girls, without a plan or personality, because that's just awkward for everyone. So what do? Just remember that not everything has to work, but you should try to have a reason behind every method you try with girls. We guarantee that with a little practice, confidence will come naturally, and you'll start thinking well past the approach. That's it for today, guys. Hopefully these tips make approach anxiety a thing of the past. And if you're looking for more tips on talking to girls, check out these videos.